There's a lot going on tonight. I believe that we are live.
Okay, and recording? Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sarah Shearer. I'm the president of the Albany Public Library Board of Trustees and chair of this executive committee. Rebecca, is there any public comment?
There is no public comment. If anyone from the public wishes to make a comment, you are asked to send an email to publiccomment@albanypubliclibrary.org or leave a voicemail at 518-290-6905. Please leave your name and address, and public comments will be read during designated times.
Thank you. We have one piece of unfinished business to attend to. Scott is going to give us a quick update on the board retreat planning.
So in this, why is it? Okay, sorry. So in this packet is a scope of work that was worked on by myself, Rebecca, Stephanie, and Melanie. We hadn't done this in the past, and I thought it was important to do this just to kind of lay out for the facilitator what our expectations of them are. So it's a scope of work. It's just to kind of give them an overview of what we're looking for and to check with the trustees to say, is this what you're looking for from your retreat? And then just to provide what the expectations are of this person in their work and what their deliverables will look like, along with some qualifications. We used Melanie's expertise in writing RFPs for this. So this is a very draft document that we would put out to individuals that we would hope to be facilitators for the next trustee retreat.
Well, thank you for working on this. I read it, and I do think it's very, it helps to clarify to facilitators what exactly we're looking for. I can see in the project overview and objectives, the pieces that the board weighed in on, the subjects we want covered at this retreat. I like that there's that it has to be able to go virtual. We're being flexible. We're, telling the facilitator that up front. So no, I was happy with this document. Now, this is just a share with us. Does this need to be approved by us or the board, or this is just keeping us in the loop?
This is just keeping you all in the loop and making sure that this outlines the work appropriately. So if there's something else you'd like to see out of this, out of this next board retreat, this would be the time to note it for us so that we can put it down and codify it. It's just to keep you all up to date. I don't think it needs to be on the full board packet, and I don't think it needs to be voted on. I think it's just something with board member feedback we can change before we put out. And we still have to decide on a date. And I know that there's a committee. There's not an ad hoc committee being formed for this, is there? There's one for the strategic plan, but not this.
Correct. So, retreat falls into executive committee.
Yeah. So we just you all need to figure out a date, and then we need to figure out who we're sending this to. Which I know there was a short list that was created from when you all checked with the board.
Should we find the facilitator before we pick a date so that we can all?
We could do that as well.
Yeah, I think I'd be more open to that approach so that we know we have someone and we just have to pick it so that we don't all, pick a date that works for us and then that person isn't able to.
Okay, so we'll send this out to the facilitators that were listed in that board response. Actually, Sarah, could you share that with me again? Because I'm afraid that got lost in.
I don't think we had anything. I mentioned one name in passing, but
Okay.
I don't think it wasn't a question in the poll, and I don't think I heard input from anyone else.
Okay.
How do we open that up to get others who may be interested in being a facilitator?
I'm wondering,
I was just wondering, like, if 'cause I attend a lot of other meetings as well, and there are a lot of other facilitators, but how would we actually solicit opportunity for others? Just wondering.
I wonder if we post it to. Huh. It's a good question. And since it's in this format, it's very easy to share. Do we do a public call? Do we put it out?
I'm a little worried with the amount of work that this board has right now to like evaluate facilitators and hire. Like, I kind of want to make this a path of least resistance, though I get totally where you're coming from, Brenda. Like, we don't want to get into a rut with our facilitators where we're choosing them and then we're like reflecting back on ourselves what we want to hear. I just don't want to do that because we have to find a new board member in the next month too, right?
And just full disclosure, the name that I had floated is actually somebody who's worked with APL in the past. That's actually where I met and know this person from. So it's not like a family member or a friend, a personal friend of mine. I've just floated Nancy Myers, who's again worked with APL in the past.
Yeah, my question, the reason why I asked is good to have people who work with APL in the past, but also making sure others have an opportunity as well. The only way that you can work with APL in the past is to get in the front door in the first place. So I'm gonna.
No, I think you're completely right about that. I just don't know if we made a broad search, if we have the capacity to vet people just at this moment, is my only concern.
Well, and I guess let me ask this too. What month or ballpark, when are we thinking of having this retreat? Because I know, ideally I'd love to have a new board member at the retreat. I just don't know the timeline on that because Matthew's last day is actually next week. It's the day after the board meeting, so it's a week from tomorrow. But I just wasn't sure how long the process was going to take to fill that position. So I wasn't sure if we were thinking like November, December retreat, like this year before the first of the year.
I think this is just my opinion is you may all need a retreat to talk about new executive director, strategic plan, and also do that with kind of getting to know the new board member and getting the new board members input. So what this could really be, I mean, the scope doesn't really need to change, but the focus could be on the work that needs to be done moving forward for an executive director and the work that needs to move forward for doing a strategic plan. That might be a good focus for the retreat and give everybody an opportunity for feedback.
That's a great point, Scott, and I'm glad that Sarah brought up exactly when we were actually planning on doing it, because that does make a difference as far as being able to recruit or even look at other folks. And being that it is a retreat, if we're saying this year, and this year is coming quick, one of the things I would like us to look at this retreat as well is opportunity for the facilitators. There shouldn't be, oh, I worked with this person before, or I know this person, I like this person, therefore they get to have this opportunity and excluding other people. So I think that needs to be moved forward, that piece of it.
Yeah, I like what Brenda is saying, and I think that concept is something that we should be talking about in a strategic plan conversation, given the proposed focus of our strategic plan. Because, this year we filled or are filling the treasurer's position. We're filling a trustee's vacancy. We're filling the executive director vacancy. We're hiring a facilitator. I've been kind of feeling like we don't have necessarily processes for all of those things. We do for some. So I think that's a strategic plan conversation which is a chicken and egg thing in this conversation. But I think what occurred to me is that if there was some sort of like industry list or industry email newsletter or whatever for people who serve as facilitators, maybe publicizing it through an industry channel would be valuable. I don't know. That's my only thought.
There's like library channels. Oh, hi. But yeah, I don't know that there's one specific to facilitators. Maybe Scott and Melanie know more.
I mean, the chamber has always been a source for us for facilitators. I mean, we could put something out on Nylon and see if we can get more library specific facilitators. But I don't know if that always works for us and Melanie.
And I also don't think that a facilitator has to be library
Yeah.
specific all the time either.
Yeah, and Brenda, Melanie and I actually had that conversation earlier today. So the chamber, my only fear with, if we do it through the chamber, we're going to get the same people we always get. So we might want to do some research to see if there's a facilitators group out there.
Or, being that Sarah made her comment as far as the timeline and when we're going to actually do a retreat. And if we're doing it this year, and Jenna's concern, I certainly understand and see exactly what she's saying. So we move forward with what we're working with now, but also ensuring that we start building a foundation for the next time to ensure that we provide opportunity. We have time to work on that plan of how next time we will get a facilitator and provide opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say to that, maybe we work these, I know we have a lot of board work going on right now, but maybe we even work these simultaneously, one side, we're going down the retreat road, we're doing this, and simultaneously, maybe we as the executive committee, since we're charged with a board retreat, maybe we can start building the facilitator list offline ourselves, compiling in a Google Doc, and we set ourselves deadlines for check-ins. So, just at our next executive committee, hey, just checking in on this, I can send a reminder a week before, hey, has everybody gotten our, additional names on this list? And this is something that we can just build out as the executive committee.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds fine. I don't know how much notice facilitators expect for a retreat of this size and scope. I guess I feel like I don't.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't meaning the list for this time. I was saying we choose a facilitator now and plan our retreat for the next couple months, and simultaneously we start working. We don't kick the can down the road. We start working on building that facilitator list now. That's what I was trying to parallel those two things.
Yeah.
Build the list for next time. Sorry, I'm not being clear.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I was also thinking, you said not sure how long facilitator requires for notice, and that I'm like, okay, we're October 5th right now. If they need a month or two, that alone puts us in November, December. So that's why I think we need to find the facilitator now in order to have a retreat before the end of the year. That's probably, what the timeline is. Brenda, you're on the nomination committee. Do you know what that timeline looks like in terms of filling Matthew's seat and finding that new trustee?
Actually, we're looking for a pretty fast. We're hoping anyway. So we had our meeting earlier, and certainly they and working on a recommendation. So hopefully at the next board meeting we'll have something.
Okay, no, that would be great. Like I said, I would love for this person to be included in the retreat. No, thank you. That would be helpful. So I guess this is the scope that staff put together. I'm good with it. You know, to go out, Brenda, if you know any facilitators, you know, we can send a short list to Scott, find a facilitator, and then once we have a facilitator selected, then we try to work dates, I think, between the board and the facilitator and get that date set. Okay. With that, no motions or no action required on that. Our next piece of business, from here on out, we have new business. The first item is the legal RFP. Scott, if you wanna.
Sure. So this is, again, an RFP that needs to be, I believe we have the board vote to okay to send these out. Is that? Yes. So this is an RFP we've been working on. Again, Melanie is the expert in writing RFPs. So just acknowledgement to her. This is very similar to what we put out 4 years ago. So we're a year behind on doing a legal RFP. We are allowed 5 years. So we're not breaking the policy, but our best practice is typically 3 years unless we believe there's a pandemic or for some other reason for expansion. There have been a few changes, and I'm going to actually hand it over to Melanie if she wants to talk about the one change that we put in there.
Our biggest change we put in there is with the meeting with the executive director. Is this the one? I am stating the correct one because it's not.
That's what I'm talking about.
Meeting with the executive director on a regularly scheduled basis. Right now, the way we have things set up is it's more of an as needed. And then we realize that schedules get mixed up, schedules don't collide well together. But if we have it stated that there will be regular monthly meetings with at least the director, if not the board as a whole, or the executive committee or board president. So that is one of the things. So it's the number 2, to meet with the executive director on a regularly scheduled basis to review the status of any negotiations and to review legal issues confronting the library, meet with the executive director as a situation warrants to review the status. And then number 10, attend all regularly called meetings of the Board of Trustees, attend meetings of board committees as requested, and provide advice at these meetings. Were the 2 major changes we put in.
The change to the number 2 is just trying to keep legal representation kind of on track. And we decided that maybe if we set a clear deadline for things for a specific meeting, that's a little easier, and it's a little easier to get on a lawyer's schedule because they are so scheduled out and it's difficult to do. And then the other is section 10 is just a really good reflection of how we're already doing things.
So with the change in number 2, do you feel like there's enough work and enough to talk about that you would need, that we should want to be paying our lawyer for more meetings?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a meeting with legal counsel before every board meeting, just to make sure any contracts that are being negotiated, any policies that are being changed, that we have the correct versions. And to just, what we've been running into is the version of the red line version of the contract is the wrong one, or for some reason, legal representation didn't have time to look at it. We feel like if we set aside, we do this with the board president, that we didn't do that before until Mary Ellen Pichet, which is just a really helpful meeting before the board meeting, just to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And, we're doing so many more agreements, which we should have been doing from the get-go, and also spacing them out in a way. There's almost a contract or an agreement before every board meeting. So worst case scenario is to just, tell legal representation, there's no reason to meet, but I think that's going to be fairly rare for the 13 meetings that we have a year.
Isn't that already their job? I mean, if you have a meeting right before the meeting, work should already have been done. So
Yeah,
if you hire a person to do a job and they're not doing a job, then you give them more money and extra time to either do it or not do it.
I think what this does is I think we always fall below our retainer. So I don't think we're going to get billed more for this. What this does is it codifies that they need to meet with us at least like once before every board meeting. So we make sure we have all the work, but I don't think we have to be worried about going over our retainer. I don't believe outside of arbitration, the one time we went into arbitration, the time we went before PERB for management confidential designations and contract, I don't believe we've ever gone above retainer and gotten billed out for more than retainer. So I think this actually fits within the retainer hours.
And I think that the phrase that's important to remember is the regularly scheduled. It's the fact like we call like, oh, we know we're speaking to legal representation once a week or once every other week. There's stuff that we're like, oh, well, I know I will speak to him or her on this date. And those interim meetings might not be called now where it's something comes up, let's contact him. Let's contact our counsel. And so it might even end up leading to less time because we know we have these it's the regularly scheduled aspect of it instead of as needed, or we caught him on a week that there's vacation or that a counsel is arbitrating something else and unavailable. If we have it, we just wanted to make sure it's regularly scheduled so we know. That way, if something does come up, it would get rescheduled ahead of time rather than not knowing that it's happening.
Okay. Our retainer could change after this RFP, right? And then what they submit.
Potentially, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But okay, that's a helpful explanation. My other question was in the selection criteria on the second page, actually the third page. Why is size of firm something we care about?
Size of firm is good to understand and know, because should there be something of vacation or arbitration that doesn't involve us, if this firm is small and we have one lawyer assigned to us, that could put us in a bind where if the firm is larger and multiple associates are assigned to us, it would be easier to work through should we have a legal emergency.
In almost every RFP, you ask for the size of the business just to know their. Did I drop out? I'm playing. Sorry, I'm playing with my AirPod case and I shouldn't. So it's you ask for it in every RFP because it just gives you an idea of whether or not you're going to be dealing with the primary owners or if you're going to be dealing with their representatives. Whether or not it's a national organization, it gives you some ideas of just the experience you might have with them. You might want a more boutique law firm, but you may want a more national sized roofer. So I think it just helps you understand the organization, the capacity they have. So I think that's what Melanie was saying, which is if it's one person, they're going to have low capacity. There have been times that Bob has, we've gotten another attorney because Bob just wasn't able to work. And we've had some really great young attorneys that we wanted to keep around at times.
Okay.
I do like Bob's memory, though, like his institutional knowledge. What he can refer back to stuff, which I know, like that's the chicken and the egg, like Brenda was talking about before, where you need to be in to be in. Do we know if Whiteman, Osterman, Hanna will bid? I guess we can't know if they'll bid until we put the RFP out.
I would expect it. I would be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah.
But it could be a change of an attorney. Bob could say, I'm busy, but we're going to assign a new attorney to this.
Also on this page, it does say interviews will be scheduled. Interviews will be scheduled on interviews. But it does say held on November 2nd. I thought that was a suggestion because that seems pretty concrete.
Yeah, no, that's why it's draft. So that's the input that we need from the board is just.
Yeah, it's election day, isn't it?
Yes, that's what I had said.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah, we need to definitely plug in the dates. I just put a suggested timeline just because I wanted the board to understand how all the meetings needed to line up so that we would have somebody hired by January 1st.
Basically, you wanted, and it's the executive committee having this interview, interviewing the candidates. And we would ideally make a recommendation to the full board at our November 9th meeting, select a law firm, and they would have basically a month and a half to prepare for the January 1st.
And then it also builds in worst case scenario, if for some reason the decision wasn't made for the November meeting. This gives you room to hire at the December meeting. It gives the law firm a little bit of a shorter time, but it at least gives the board a little bit of wiggle room in case something comes up.
Can we amend the language and say interviews will be conducted the week of November 1st?
Of course,
And then that'll just leave us open and we'll have flexibility.
of course.
So the proposal submitted 1, 2, 3 weeks from tomorrow, but the full board has to approve this next week. So it's okay to post this for 2 weeks. We're not falling under a threshold. Okay.
Trying to remember what the most recent RFP, was it the treasurer one we put out? But we had asked that specific question from legal before, is there, and they said technically we could say 1 week. It's just, best practice, but we could do any timeline we wanted to.
Oh, wow. At 5:30. Okay, so that basically means wake up that Thursday morning, the 28th, call people and start scheduling the interviews for the following week. So as a committee, if we can get together behind the scenes and figure out what all of our availability is, then we can just give people options of time slots.
Yeah, I mean, what we did for the treasurer interview is the finance committee picked a time and told the candidates that that was the time. And I think
Okay.
that would be fair to do in this case as well.
I agree.
Did you guys just go back to back?
Yep, we did 4
That
half-hour
works.
slots right in a row.
Nice. That makes sense.
It's a lot easier for Rebecca, and it's a lot, it's one night for
Yeah.
committee
Easier
members.
for all of us.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have anything with this proposal? Questions, comments?
No, the rest of it looks good.
Okay. Alrighty. Next item under new business. Board member expectations. Rebecca, are you pulling? Oh, I think she is. Wait for it to come up on the screen, but in the meantime, just a quick, oh, there it is. Backstory on how this document came to be, because I didn't write it. This document was actually written a couple years ago by Karen. I believe this was part of the strategic plan and an effort to build out and document roles of trustees, officers, and try to get more information on paper so that when people come onto our board, there's a clear document written. So it's not just transferring everything by word of mouth or trial by fire, learning on the job, but we actually have a document that we can hand people when they come on the board, or even better, when they're considering coming on the board. Here's a document. This is what we expect of our board members, so people know coming in what's expected. So basically, this document was written 2 years ago, and then it never really got finalized or adopted. So I just wanted to bring it back up, and if we could adopt it and put it into our board docs library so that we can access it, I think that would be really great going forward. I will say that I made 2 changes to this document from how I found it. Under the first section, general, I did add a new bullet point, be responsive to email, including scheduling requests for committee meetings. And then under the personnel section, it had language to the effect of setting staff salaries, which I removed because we had a conversation in personnel that we didn't feel that that was the job of the board, but that more falls in the executive director's role. So I removed that, and those were the only 2 pieces of this document I changed.
I think this is a pretty good document. It looks like a lot of work has already been put into it. I didn't do this myself before the meeting, but the only thing that that might be valuable to do is like cross-reference the committee descriptions with some of these descriptions, because I can see that some of them are the same, and Karen probably did that on purpose. But I don't know, that might like trigger our memories if there is something here missing that we would want in this document. But on the whole, I think it's good. Yeah.
Well, we don't have to adopt it tonight. I mean, we can take a minute and do that, do some cross-referencing and bring it back in our next committee meeting.
I'd be fine adopting it tonight. I don't want to add more work to people, but
Well, like the committee descriptions and officer roles, they're always able to be amended. So if we do find something, we can definitely update this as we go or as things change.
Could we just, especially if, just striking me now, could we amend this to say, to use the term fiduciary duties in the finance section? It does say examine, ask questions, and possibly resolve. It describes a fiduciary duty, but it doesn't use the term, and I just thought it was important to use the term.
That'd be in the second bullet.
Either one. I think, yeah, the second bullet probably speaks to it most closely. I was saying maybe like,
Rebecca, do you have the Google Doc for this?
Yes, I believe so. Hold on.
Also, I don't see the, hold on.
The one I just found, I believe, is the old one. It's prior to your edits.
Okay, let me go into my drive. Board member expectations. Share.
Was the intent on here to list all the committees?
I can't speak to Karen's intent. I think if I had to
I think all
wager,
the- Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's okay. Just to give trustees coming onto the board an idea of what all of their duties encompass. Is something missing?
well, I think
You have finance, you have policy, you have personnel, you have planning. In my mind, thinking about facilities and
Nominations.
nominations committee, which is not, I think if you're gonna say that committees, you are, we have at least 6 standing committees, well, they should at least be listed. And if you're gonna have some, then you should have them all.
my hunch would be that this was not meant to, like the heading of finance, policy, personnel, those probably weren't meant to be specific to the committees.
Right.
I think they were probably just describing areas of our domain as trustees.
I was thinking that at first because I remember when Karen was doing this, but now since I've been away from this document for so long, that's why I just kept looking, why it took me a minute to even make a comment. Because since I've been away from it so long and now I come back to it, it appears that when I see committees and now, it's not like I've been looking at this all along, time away from it, come back to it, I feel that all the committees should be listed on here. I do understand the reasoning though prior because I remember this document but being away from it and coming back to it. And if you're talking about expectations, you mentioned in the committees.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could definitely do a bullet point uh, under each of those. It will differ from the committee description since
Right.
not all trustees will be on each committee, so their work won't be as deep in all of them. But for instance, as far as nominations is concerned, the committee will do the legwork, but all trustees, would have to vote on appointing another trustee.
Something broad just something broad, at least, especially if we looking to share this with new people coming on, and even for someone who's been here a while and want to get a refresher, you may look at this and say, something is missing. So I think it'd be great, that we're talking about committees above, just to even add that, even if it's something broad, at least they're made aware in this particular document.
Okay, no, that sounds good to me. So yeah, Rebecca, if you can just make a note, just reminding me, I will add something for the facilities and nominating committees, and we can take this back up at our next meeting. Thank you. Do you mind scrolling back up to the first general section? Thank you. I know that in the beginning of this year, we were having some issues with trustees not being responsive to email. And I will say, I think that's gotten a lot better. I sent an email out a week or two ago about scheduling the special meeting tonight, and I got a response from 8 out of 9 trustees, I believe, within 24 to 48 hours. So I do want to commend the trustees. The responsive rate for emails has really improved. I know we are having some issues, occasionally with committee attendance. So I don't know if we add something else in the general section, but just, keeping on everyone's radar, trustees being responsive in general to emails, attending scheduled meetings, just keeping everything moving and being respectful of each other's time and staff time. I think just generally.
I think that's a great point. And I also would like to also mention that being that a lot of people are virtual now, the amount of emails have increased exponentially. And I really just wanted to just make sure that I mentioned that. Whereas probably 2 years ago, a lot of folks that I know didn't even get emails. Now their emails are now being overwhelmed, locked where they can't send and receive. It's just so many different things going on with emails due to the situation that we're in now. So I just wanted to just make that point as well.
Yeah, I think the changes we made are good, and yeah, I think this will be really helpful once we finalize it.
All right, then I'm okay to move on, and we can edit in between meetings and look at a revised version next meeting. Going back to Word docs. The next item under new business, executive committee description. I just added 2 items to our description, which were the 2 items that we just discussed. One item is I added the legal RFP under committee responsibilities, just like the treasurer position is under the finance committee. The RFP process for legal is under the executive committee. If this, since this is a 3-year contract, we probably want to, well, not we, the executive committee of 2024 will probably want to start looking at that RFP in August. So this is just a note to the future executive committee when they want to look at the RFP to stay on the schedule. And then I added the board member expectations document in our maintain the following documents in the board docs library. Again, just amending this committee description as we go so we can remember all of these little things. So I guess in order to amend this, I would take a motion. If anyone has any questions, Tom, and if there's a second, and then we can discuss.
Second.
Brenda, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any discussion on these amendments to our committee description?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, Rebecca, would you like us to voice vote or go to board docs?
Voice vote is fine.
All in favor, aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion carries. And that was all I had, but the DEI strategic plan framework is on here. I had been asking for that document just to be organized. The last time I saw the document, the objectives were under different goals and it was just a little hard to follow. So this document has been updated. So if you read it, all of the objectives are under the correct goals. Scott, you look like you were going to say something. Do you want to?
So, what we did was we cleaned it up. We took a lot of we took tactics, which we don't usually do until after a strategic plan is voted on and accepted by the board. Last go around, the tactics were added afterwards. So that's really what we did was we just took out all those notes and all those tactics. The reason why they were there is they were kind of like a way to show our staff that we took in all of their work and stuck it in those different places. But I realized why it would be a little confusing to the board to see all those notes and all that text and kind of reference to an older plan. And then looking at it again, I go, well, if we pull all these out, it's much more organized and defined and clear. And there are little things that probably need to be adjusted here and there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wasn't minding the tactics so much. It was the order. I think things were getting moved around and the objectives weren't under the correct goal. So it was a little hard to follow. But this is in order now. I was able to read this very easily. Again, this plan, I would say, doesn't fall within the purview of our committee. I have on the agenda for our regular board meeting next week to create an ad hoc strategic plan committee. I know we've talked about moving this plan to there and having a discussion of working off of this plan to possibly turn into a strategic plan. So I figure this plan should go to a dedicated committee where they can really spend an entire meeting just discussing the plan, where it can really be given full attention. And with that, I believe that is all of the business that I had on the agenda. I do foresee our committee meeting again soon, since we're creating 2 ad hoc committees at our full board meeting next week. We will have to appoint trustees to those committees. So that reminds me, I will send out an email and poll trustees on their preferences on what they want. So we have something to go off of.
Can you tell me again what those 2 ad hoc committees are?
Yes. So one will be the strategic plan committee that will look at this diversity, equity, inclusion plan and make decisions on, working off of that to form a strategic plan or the like. And the other committee, ad hoc committee, will be the executive director search committee. So then our committee will meet to appoint trustees to those committees. We can work on building out our facilitators list. And we can review the amendments to the board member expectations. I think those are the only two things we need to return to from this meeting. And does anybody have anything else before we wrap up? Seeing nothing, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Jenna, and second, Tom. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, voice vote, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great night, everyone.
Good night, speak soon.
Yeah, thank you